I am the knight. I am Batman.
Are there times when you're ever tired of saying that?
Never.
So, here we have a very nice crowd. Does the audience ever stop surprising you?
What I find so amazing about the Batman audience is you guys are the most passionate, the most loyal, committed fans of all the fans. It's amazing. The passion for this character, there's such a deep sense of connection with him. It's like he's a member of the family for a lot of fans, and I really hear that when I come to Comic-Cons. I think the fact that he has no superpowers, that he's the one superhero who's only got his wits, and he's so purely good. He wants to cure the world, and he has no superpowers to help him do it. There's something so noble about that people love that about him. So that just brings out the best in fans.
I've heard Michael Uslan, executive producer of the Batman movies, suggest that he considers Batman's persistence to be his superpower.
That's a good way of putting it. He never gives up.
Is there a lesson from somebody like Batman that can resonate in real people's lives?
I think the lesson to take from Batman is that no matter how difficult life gets, and everyone's life is difficult. No one gets out of here alive, you know? It's difficult for everybody. But no matter how difficult it gets, you have no excuse not to do the right thing. You always have to do the right thing. And I think that's the lesson that comes from it. You can never stop trying to do the right thing.
And while we're talking for a moment, people, go ahead, line up at the microphone over there if you have questions for Kevin. And all of our former Wizard people give us the signal that we've been going on too long. In the upcoming Justice League movie, I saw in one of the trailers, someone asked him, "What's your superpower?" And he says, "I'm rich." Look, I've always felt if you plant him somewhere without any of the toys or any of that, he's still Batman.
He's the original MacGyver. That's who he is. And he would be. I mean, if he had no money and he had no toys, he would still manage to save the world. He's just that kind of person. Because his real secret power is his passion and his goodness. And that's what people love about him.
I actually thought that was something that Dark Knight Rises got right. They stripped him of his money. I didn't agree with how they did it, but they stripped him of his money. They planted him in the middle of nowhere, and he's still Batman.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Of the theatrical films, do you have a favorite?
Mask of the Fantastic.
Yeah. That's a good answer. All right, over here in the Batman shirt.
All right.
Tell us who you are and what's your question.
My name is Taylor. When you came to Tulsa a couple years ago, and you told a story about how you volunteered at 9/11. I'd like for you to tell that story because it's a great story.
I hope if you've heard this story, I'm sorry, but it is a good story. I haven't actually told it in a while. I live in New York, and after the attacks on, New York is really, everyone thinks it's this mean town, but New Yorkers are really very giving people because we all live on top of each other. We all have to get along, and it's kind of like a big city of a lot of neighborhoods. And whenever anything goes wrong there, people really pull together. So after the attacks, you all saw the images of people running away from the clouds of dust. Everyone remembers those pictures. But I wish what you could have seen is the people running back after the cloud of dust settled. Hundreds of people ran downtown to see what they could do to help. And so many people that they had too many. And they organized people at the Javits Center. So they gave out a phone number to call the Javits Center, and you could register to be part of a work crew or a volunteer crew or whatever. So I called the Javits Center, And this guy goes, well, we have all the diggers and tunnelers we need. Do you have any restaurant experience? And I said, I'm an actor. Of course I have restaurant experience. I said, do you need waiters? Do you need cooks? He said, wait a minute, you cook? And I said, yeah, I cook. And he said, well, are you free now? I said, yeah, I'm between jobs right now. He said, no, I mean right now. Can you get down here now? So I went down to this restaurant right next to Ground Zero that they had taken over. And I worked in the kitchen. And I was working in the kitchen, and night after night, I was doing the night shift from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And it was very hot and sweaty, and it was very unpleasant. There was a lot of dust in the air, the smell. And in the midst of a few nights in, one of the other cooks said, so, what kind of acting do you do? He said, my day job is, I'm an architect. What's your day job? And I said, well, I'm an actor. He said, yeah, well, what kind of acting do you do? Do some special kind of acting? I said, well, I do mostly voice work. He said, I knew it! I knew your name. You're Batman. I said, how do you know that? He said, everybody knows who's Batman. I said, no, everybody does not know who's Batman. He said, oh God, can I tell the guys in the dining room? They're all gonna freak out. I said, no one's gonna care. There's great tragedy going on around us. No one's gonna care about that. He said, wait, watch. So he goes out in the dining room and he goes, guys, you're not gonna believe who's been cooking your dinners. It's Batman. Long pause in here. Bullshit! Because they're all firemen. And then he says, someone else says, make him prove it! So I thought, oh, this is good. So I'm back in the kitchen, way in the back, and I have a big voice. So I said, I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman! There's this long pause, and you hear, holy fuck! That is Batman! And they come running back in the kitchen. They're like, oh man, you know that episode when the Joker did this? And remember, oh man, how's that Catwoman? And my favorite episode is this, and my favorite, and they were just laughing and carrying on. And the architect who had recognized me, he said, what's it like to be Santa Claus? Because that's what just happened. And I called Andre Romano the next morning early. I said, what we do really matters. I said, because the one thing they needed last night was to laugh. And everybody was laughing. So that's my Ground Zero.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
What's your name? What's your question?
My name is Cole Placencia. Sorry about the last name. I was wondering, when you were first asked on to do the voice of Batman, how much did you know about Batman? And also, I'm also curious as to wondering, did you do other did you do other characters, before Batman?
Well, that's what's kind of amazing. People ask me how to get into doing voices in animation, and I say, well, not the way I did it, because it just doesn't happen that way. I did commercial voiceovers to supplement my theater income. I was really a theater actor in New York, but theater doesn't pay any money. You can't make a living in the theater, everybody knows that. So they do commercials during the day, a lot of the Broadway actors. And I did voiceovers. And I happened to be in LA doing a series, which didn't last very long. And my voiceover agent said, they're putting together a new show over at Warner Brothers, Batman. Why don't you go over and give it a shot? I'd never done an animated voice, ever. And I said, well, new show? I said, that's been around forever, hasn't it, Batman? He said, it's never been an animated show. So I went in and I met Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Andrea Romano and Alan Burnett. And royalty in animation. And I didn't know who any of these people were. I went in, this dumb actor who I didn't know who I was meeting. So I couldn't get nervous about it. You know what I mean? And because my only exposure to Batman had been the Adam West show, I had no preconceptions about what they were looking for. And Bruce Timm says, well, what is your exposure to Batman? I said, well, the Adam West show. He went, no, that's not what we're doing. We all love Adam West, but we're not doing that show. He said, let me explain it to you. He said, this is based on The Dark Knight, and this is film noir. He said, think of New York 30s film noir. Gritty. It's all going to be painted on a black background. It's tough, it's dark. He's saving the world. His parents were murdered when he was a child. He's avenging their deaths. It's two personality. He lives in the shadows. He's misunderstood. I said, you're telling the Hamlet story? He said, well, no one has made that comparison. But I just approached it the way I did any role. I said, well, let me just use my imagination. So it was just an actor in an audition using his imagination. I mean, you don't get more naked than that, with no preconceptions. But because I had none, I felt totally liberated. So I just put myself in my imagination in that place, and my voice just went to this very dark spot. I just went to the darkest place I could think of emotionally. Because that's what I thought the voice would come out of. And they hired me on the spot. And they'd seen 700 people, I later found out. They'd been looking for months. But I think everyone came in probably with all this baggage, you know. But because I just came in sort of as an idiot, I was totally open. And it was my first animated job. That was 25 years ago. And that job lasted 25 years. Batman the Animated Series became Batman and Robin, became Justice League, became Batman Beyond, became the direct-to-video movies, and then became the Arkham games, and then Injustice. I mean, it just kept snowballing. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way. But it happened for me that way. So that's just a lucky break.
So you didn't even really know the Keaton Batman at that
No,
point.
I
So you
hadn't
didn't
seen
know
it.
he had done the voices differently, because
I
that
hadn't
must have
seen
been
it.
the same way.
I hadn't seen it.
So you decided on your own, I'm doing two different voices.
Well, I said to Bruce, you're telling me he's the richest guy in town, he's the most powerful guy in town, he's the most available bachelor, he owns half of Gotham City, and he puts on a mask and no one knows it's him? I said, come on. I said, we gotta, make it a little more realistic. And let me try and squeeze the voices a little bit. Use my own voice for Bruce, and then we'll go to the bedroom. And I hadn't seen Nick Keaton, which had come out like 2 years earlier, I think.
89.
89. We started in 91. So, no, I haven't seen him.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Hello.
My name's Hannah, and I was wondering between the Batman the Animated Series and Justice League, what's your favorite episode?
I really like Perchance to Dream, which is a really beautiful episode where Batman is drugged and he goes back into his childhood. And what I love about playing the character is the psychology of the character. Look, I think what makes animation so interesting, and the reason it resonates with you all so much, is because animation is our mythology. The Greeks had Orestes and Achilles. And we have Batman and Superman. It's the same thing. They use those characters and those stories to teach morality to their children. And we use these stories and these characters to teach morality to our children. It's the same thing in society. And what makes Batman so interesting is his psychology. He is the damaged hero. He is so damaged emotionally. So that, for an actor, is what makes him a lot of fun to play. Superman has a square jaw, and he can fly, and he can see through walls. I mean, how boring. You know what I mean? He's just...
Well, it depends on what you're looking at through those walls.
Yeah. But Batman is complicated, He's got baggage. He's dark. He's broody. He can't have personal relationships. He wants, that's what I love about Mask of the Phantasm so much. He finally realizes what life's about. Love. That's all life's about, is sharing it with someone. And he suddenly sees that in Andrea Beaumont, and he realizes, oh, this is what life's about. It's about sharing your heart with someone. I want to be able to do this. But he realizes he can't. He's incapable of it. So he goes to his parents' grave, and he begs with them to release him from his vow. And then this huge flock of bats comes screaming out of the earth, and he realizes he can't escape his destiny. There's something so epic and tragic. You know, it's such a... I love... One of my favorite philosophers and writers is a guy named Joseph Campbell. And he wrote The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And it's about this hero that goes through this arc of being challenged by life, dying and being reborn, and being, through catharsis, becoming a hero. It's happened in the Greeks, in the Roman Empire, in the ancient Indian cultures, the African cultures. Anywhere in the world you go, there is a story of that hero. That's why he calls it a hero with 1,000 faces. It's like this subconscious that goes throughout human history of this challenged hero who rises like a phoenix out of the ashes and becomes a savior. Batman. That's the Batman story. That's who he is. And I love that about the character. So any of the stories that touch on that aspect of him, I love. And I think Perchance to Dream definitely does that.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hi. I'm Thomas. I just want to say, if there's like an animated project, really anything I hear you're involved, I just get so excited immediately.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. But anyways, what is your favorite Batman work you ever did? You've ever done?
Favorite?
Understood episode, any of it.
Yeah, any.
I really loved, wow, so many of them. I think if you ask an actor what's his favorite thing he did, it's usually the last thing he just did. Because it's the freshest in his mind, and it's the one that most challenged him. And I think I have to admit, the killing joke at the end, playing that last scene with Mark was really challenging for me, and I loved it. That laugh, getting into that crazy laugh, I was proud. I was really proud of that. But also, Mask of the Phantasm. Again, it's just a performance I'm really proud of. So, a lot of them. I've been proud of a lot of it.
Question about that laugh at the end of the Killing Joke. Because Michael Uslan wanted my take on that, what I thought was happening. In that scene, fans disagree about a lot of things in the Killing Joke, but in that scene, why is Batman laughing? Because you had to take your perspective when you were playing that role. What did you see as the reason that he was laughing?
I took it to mean that, because I've always thought of Batman and the Joker as defining each other. They're the yin and the yang for each other. I wouldn't be the Batman I am without the Joker, and he wouldn't be the Joker he is without the Batman. And I took that laugh at the end to be sort of taking the Joker inside it. And it is almost the Joker side of Batman, which is why as it grew, it got crazier and crazier. Because I wanted it to be Joker-like. So that you heard an element of the Joker in the Batman. Which I think is really interesting.
Thank you. Hello?
Hi.
My name is Carson, and what's your favorite Arkham game?
I like Arkham Knight because of the way it ended. I was really proud of the ending, the performance I gave at the end. I really like Arkham Knight. like flying with Batman through the skyline of Arkham. I think that's really cool. But they're all great, to be honest. But I'm partial to Arkham Knight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Carl.
Hi.
And who's your favorite Batman villain?
Oh. Well, Joker, of course, because I have a special relationship with Mark. We're like brothers. But I think what's great about the show is the villains. Let's face it, the show is the villains. They are such a cast of crazy. Wasn't it genius of the Arkham game developers to think, wait a minute, he never kills any of these people. He puts them in Arkham Asylum. Batman doesn't kill. So they're all in Arkham Asylum. Joker, Riddler, Harley Quinn, Scarecrow. I mean, everybody is in Arkham Asylum. So let's have him get trapped in there and have to fight his way out. I mean, it was a brilliant idea for the game, that they're all there. That's a long way of saying, I think all the villains are fantastic. And I think that's been sort of the secret sauce for the show all along, has been these crazy, crazy tribe of villains. Sure.
Whenever somebody makes a new villain to challenge Superman, they always have to start with what challenges his powers. I think when they make up a new villain to challenge Batman, they always have to start with what challenges his characters, and I think that's part of his character as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of why it's such a rich rogues gallery.
Yeah, you're right.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Pikachu. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Pikachu.
So I was wondering, there's been like a lot of different Batman movies with like all sorts of different actors. So obviously you're stuck really close to the comics, but a lot of the movies don't. What do you think is like the worst thing that the movies do to Batman?
The worst?
What is the worst thing that the movies do to Batman?
Yeah, like the worst mess up, not just killing his parents.
I don't know. I never thought about it. It's the worst thing the movies do to Batman? In terms of the character?
Yeah, like sometimes in movies like he kills people and that's like one of his major things. Like that's a really bad mess up and
Well,
stuff like that.
I have to admit, in the show Gotham, which I love, it's a beautifully produced show, he kills a lot. There's a lot of death. Batman's not killing, obviously, because he's a child, but there's a lot of death in that show. And the thing I love about Batman is there is no death in Batman. He doesn't kill. The movies tend to be a lot more violent than the animated show was, and I don't know if that's really necessary. So that's the one thing I would question.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hello. Hello. This is Andrew for a quick question. I think the worst thing that the Batman movies ever did was the bat nipples. Okay. My name is Dustin, long life Batman fan. Don't even want to show it. But there's a theory out there that I kind of want you to answer this and see if it's true or not. Apparently, Batman is really related to his villains. For instance, Two-Face, two sides of Bruce Wayne, of course, Bruce Wayne and Batman, and Dr. or Mr. Freeze, whatever they call him, is because he's cold-hearted towards women. Do you think that's true, or are you just a bunch of damn theories? And my second question is, when you work with people for years and years and years, whether it was Mark Hamill or any other actor, when you hear of their passing, what's the first emotion goes through your mind? Because when I hear the death of an actor that I grew up with, whether it was their voice or their physical work, it just really gets me. I mean, we lost the guy who played Jim Gordon not too long ago.
Yeah.
And we lost Adam West, which is an iconic Batman character in his own right.
Well, look, as I said before, no one gets out of here alive, and I think that's just a message that you can never stop reminding yourself of, is that the journey is really short, and you've just got to really enjoy the people around you and take advantage of what life has to give. I was so saddened by Adam's death. It came out of left field. I didn't know that he was sick. I had just seen him shortly before that. I don't know. I have a unique perspective on that because I think I work in the theater, and because of my age. I went to Juilliard in the 70s, and I started acting in the theater in 1978. So I was working in the New York theater all through the 80s and the 90s. Well, AIDS was just wiping out so many people that I was close to, that it was horrible. And you're too young when you're in your 20s to be taking care of people through their death. You're not ready for it, you know what I mean? And it just decimated the theater. And so I learned, perhaps at an earlier age than some other people, to really, really hold on to the people in your life and give to them, because they leave so quickly. You know what I mean? So that's my perspective on it.
Did you get to ever chat with Adam West much? I know he did the Grey Coast episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love working with Adam. He the first time he came in to do the Grey Coast, Andrea told me he was coming in. I said, "Oh no!" I said, "He's Batman. What am I gonna say?" You know. And he came in, and I was like, "Hi," and I felt, you know, like I was treading on his cape. You know what I mean? And he said, "Oh," he said, "I had so much fun playing this character." He said, "You're gonna have a blast. Run with it. It's yours now. Just run with it and have fun." He said, "I had a lot of fun. Have a blast." And he was the most generous, professional guy. I loved working with him. A real gentleman. None of the ego crap that you get with a lot of actors. Just there to do the job and to contribute to the show. You know what I mean? A team player. He's a great guy.
He really loved the fans. He appreciated the fact that the fans kept him where he was.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I'd run into somebody who said, "Well, I met Adam West. He was a bit of a jerk." And I always say, "Was it late in the day?" Yeah, late in the day when Adam was tired. Sometimes a sarcastic sense of humor didn't come out. But no, he really loved the fans.
I never get nasty late in the day.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom. First off, I just want to thank you for what you've contributed to the Batman mythology over the last 2.5 decades.
Thank you.
I grew up with you in the 90s, so to me, you've always been my Batman. So I just want to ask, taking into account only the animated series, I know you and Mark have worked together a lot and have a great relationship. What was your favorite moment working with Mark Hamill during the course of the animated series?
Oh, wow. Well, the wonderful thing about working with Mark, I don't know if you realize this, but the process for creating a show is the actors get the scripts first before anything happens. And we record first. So when you're recording, nothing's been painted yet. So when we first started doing the show, all we had were sketches that they'd given us of the characters. So we're really working just from scripts and sort of our imaginations of what we thought it might look like. And the interaction in the recording studio is so much fun. It's like doing a radio play. And I always equating it to kids playing ball when you were little. And the more generous the other kid is, the better a volley you get it, you know? And Mark and I just really volley the ball well together. We love to play catch. We love to watch each other act. And I wish you could see him act. Ooh, Betty. And then he'll like, ooh, and it's like, you think he's gonna eat the microphone. Small room with him, and I'm like, ah. He becomes Joker. His voice, you know Jim Carrey, how rubbery a face he has? Mark does that with his face. it just transforms. He becomes the character. So you're in there in this small room with this madman, you know, it's a little scary. But I have great respect for him. And who knew that was going to come out of him? I only knew it was Luke Skywalker. And I thought, Luke Skywalker's going to do Joker? Are you kidding? He's like that nice young man, you know? And then he comes in and like, you know, this crazy thing comes out. It was like Alien, you know, coming out of his throat. But what was the question again?
Your favorite moment working with Mark.
Oh, okay. So early on, we were doing it all just us together, you know, working off each other, crazy times in the booth. And then about 6 months into it, in '92, or maybe it was still '91, it was long before it went on the air, the first artwork came back. Because they send those tapes off to the artists. It used to be South Korea. North Korea, that'd be interesting. It's a very different Ray. No, they go South Korea. Then the artwork would come back, painted, and then there's a process called ADR, where you sync it up, the audio with the visual. And you're in a big studio at Warner Brothers, and they show you the artwork that's come back, and they show the synced up soundtrack. And there's always mistakes in it, because it's all painted by hand. So then you have to sync it up so that the mechanics of the sound and the visual work. And so there's that process called ADR, and you do little line changes, little word changes. That's where you do a lot of the fight sounds and stuff. That's where those things are put in. So Mark and I are in there together doing the first ADR of the first footage that comes back, and whoosh, the sound comes up, the Shirley Walker score, and those colors come across the screen, and the characters come on the screen. I looked at Mark and I said, "Did you know this is what we were doing?" He said, "I didn't have a clue." It was such a wonderful moment. We both felt like, we said afterwards, we felt like we were 12 years old. You know, in a movie theater, we're like, holy crap, look at this. And it was so beautiful, and that's when we both realized we were part of something really special.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Dean. How's it going? What's the one one of the Batman actors that's not you that you kind of like really appreciate in either the animated or the real life, or maybe both? And have you ever tried the Telltale one yet? Take a look at that Batman.
The Telltale Game.
I haven't seen the Telltale Game. The other actors, I thought it was crazy at first that Warner Brothers didn't give the franchise to one person to do the live-action Batman movies, because usually that's what the studios do. You get one actor that plays James Bond, or that does, Spider-Man or something, and does the whole franchise. And